Good afternoon, Melbourne. Good afternoon, Australia, and good day or evening to all our international listeners too. I'm Helen Taylor. Welcome to my show, Inspired Radio. I'm here with you every Monday, 4 p.m. Melbourne time, Melbourne, Australia time, that is, and Sunday, 11 p.m. Central Time, US and Canada, for conversations and stories to inspire you. This is the BBS Radio TV platform, and we're going live to about 190 plus outlets worldwide. Before we get started, when I started up this actual platform, I had a few family and friends that wanted to really support me, and some of them sponsored the shows. So today's sponsor is Faye Vaughan. Faye is a force of nature with a beautiful heart, and I would like to just send out my thanks to you, Faye, for being our sponsor for this show. Inspired Radio is all about change and getting uncomfortable and shaking up the status quo, because we're breaking free from limiting systems and embracing our infinite potential. My guests are here to tell their story, to reveal how they have overcome change and made better lives for themselves and, of course, for others. They're here to inspire you with their stories. This show embodies the spirit of love, respect, and compassion. And with that in mind, let me introduce today's guests, Peter and Donna from Corruption Whistleblower. I just want to say a couple of words about how this happened. If anybody out there knows what the hand of God is, or whatever you want to call that power that's there, 2.5 weeks ago, a South African man found me via the BBS Radio TV platform. I had only been on air for 4 weeks on that platform, and that was pretty random. He wanted me to speak to 2 Aussies and interview them about the government theft here in Australia. I found out that I already knew these 2 people. I spoke with Donna and Peter personally. I already knew about them because they had created the Corruption Whistleblower newspaper. But that's all I knew about them. We agreed to catch up today, so let's dive right into their incredible story and reveal what they're currently doing to the banks of Australia. So Donna and Peter, welcome.
Thank you very much. Thank you so much, Helen, for having us on here. Such a privilege.
You're welcome. Gosh, there's just so many sort of paths in your story. Where do we start? What about we start with the Corruption Whistleblower, the newspaper?
Yes, how the newspaper was born, the Corruption Whistleblower newspaper. Back in 2018, we were working at South Australia in the common law court down there, establishing the common law court, teaching people about affidavits, serving the corrupt commissioners of police, the councils, the people who are stealing children unlawfully, serving them the truth, basically.
Hang on.
Then
Can I stop you just there? Because we're
course.
going international here, right? So I just want to give people, a little idea of, like, what do you mean, the children and the corruption? How did you find out about that yourself?
Yeah, we did a lot of research, and Peter was already taking them to task in courts, and he can speak a little bit about that if you want.
Yeah, so what happened is I was working through things in certain court matters, and I worked out that the whole system was corrupt. So I travelled around, I researched, and I travelled around Australia to do work with retired police prosecutors and special operations people that had flipped on the current system and gone, no, they're all committing treason, they're all stealing children, and they are really heroes, those people, because they, were under their systems, but worked out that, hang on, one of the police prosecutors, hang on, I've got all these people in jail and there's no jurisdiction. There's no Queen of Australia. The Australia Act's fraud. And it only takes somebody with half a brain, really, to look at the referendum dates and results to see that they are clearly have altered the constitution here in this country, but breaching section 128 of that constitution, which means they must put it to a referendum. So
hang on, before you go any further, let me snapshot this for people. So you knew something was wrong. You smelled a rat, and you personally went around the country and you found people who had been insiders to the system. So these weren't people that were making stuff up. These were people that had personally experienced things, and you were going around getting all their stories and finding out what was going on. Is that right?
That's correct, and being trained by them, learning all their all the different acts and what the Constitution actually was. Because I knew there was one, but I didn't know what it meant. Because as Aussies, we just want to live our lives. It's a great country, and we seem to be just travelling forward in here, unaware of what's creeping from behind us.
Well, most of us don't care, right? Most of us just didn't care. We just wanted to get on with our lives. Nobody was interested in knowing the rules and regulations unless they affected them.
That's right.
I was one of them.
Right.
And so one of them, just enjoying the great country and what's been given to us by the divine creator.
Yeah.
And once you work out that the system is fully broken, but the problem is once you start going to court and you think, oh, I've found a hole in the system, they're all going to wake up. These judges who we're supposed to respect are going to see this and go, wow, we're going to do something about it. They're the concealers. And they're the terrorists, and we really are run by terrorists in this nation, and it's very unfortunate. People don't want to believe it, but the only ones that don't believe it are the ones that haven't done their research. So it was a great awakening for me as well, because the further I got around, I'd meet one police prosecutor and go, oh, this stuff's going to work in court and they're going to fix everything. Go to the next police prosecutor or the next police special operations gentleman and learn his stuff and go, oh, this stuff's going to work. That doesn't work either. And then work with another gentleman in Melbourne. Crazy information. You're looking at it all and you're going, this is absurd. Of course this is going to work. No, it doesn't work either. Yeah. So they're all really good researchers and phenomenal people, but it doesn't work in our court system because they're terrorists.
Well, they keep changing the game, Peter.
Yeah, but without our consent. This is
Correct.
The problem.
Correct.
And they're now sitting up there just trying to protect the system, because whichever judge makes a ruling that this thing's corrupt, you look at you can't even see or fathom what's behind it, because when you think that every judicial officer, all the commissioners of police, and all these people that are in the main heads of power, all gets down to Freemasonry, which is an occult.
Okay. So can I stop you there? Because as soon as we start going down these roads, some of the people, their lights are going to go off. And, and there's people like you and me that love the juicy information and the research and then investigation. But for me, I want to hear about you today and Donna today. No worries. So that started your journey, and you were really connecting with some bigwigs. You weren't connecting with small players here. So, for everybody out there, what you found out should have helped you to get success, but you were seeing corruption and corruption and corruption. So
absolutely.
When was that? What are we talking about?
That's in about 2016, the journey started. So that went for about 2 years, going around the country and trying to get them all to group up so we could try and make a change. Mm-hmm. There seems to be a minor problem there that look, what I say is they're all correct, but they all think that their pathway is going to win. And the only pathway that's going to win is when we all unite and the truth is revealed.
You're talking about the rest of the self-governing kind of groups, because for people out there that don't know, there are hundreds of thousands of them, not just here in Australia,
that's right,
but worldwide, that have all started to see that something's up, something's wrong, and they want change. Yeah, people saying that they really need to start, instead of just beating their own drums, it's time we all became united. Yeah,
that's right.
Okay.
And so what ended up happening, Peter was going around learning all that, and then he volunteered his own property for us all to meet on as a common law court group. Mm-hmm. And so people were supporting him in court, and we all got together and started a common law court in South Australia, one of the first common law groups to be convened. Okay. And Peter would teach us, and the other people, like David Walters, Dick Yardley, Brian Shaw, all the people that he's talking about that he did go around and see, Wayne Glue, all these people that are great warriors, we would be getting their information as well. Mike Holt and that, we were all talking with them. So that continued on for a while, didn't it? And we would have hundreds of people come through every weekend. I'd run it every Sunday, and then we'd often get together and go and visit the local police station and hand them their orders, which would be telling them what was going on, which again is at corruptionwhistleblower.com, is outlined in here what the crimes are. Of course, like Auntie Glenda said at one of our grand juries, Australia is an active crime scene. Australia is a crime scene right at this moment.
So what you guys were doing in South Australia was, just really starting to get clearer and clearer about you're creating a new reality for us, right? You're out at the forefront of it. And of course, energetically, like attracts like, right? So you were becoming like little magnets and drawing all these like-minded people together, yeah, bringing all their stories and all their insight. So then when did Corruption Whistleblower start, the paper?
Mm-hmm. Well, can I just add a couple of things there? So just before the common law court started, what happened is I was in the courts and I asked the judge certain questions, and when I left there, a couple of people pulled me up and said, "Oh, you've just answered our question why we cannot get any justice in these courts."
Right.
And then so we had a bit of a chat with them, or myself by myself. I had a bit of a chat with them. We went down the road and had coffee and stuff. And then they took note of when I was back in court next. And so I turn up to court the next time and there's like 80 people in the waiting room. Normally there's only a handful, 10, because they're 10 or 15, because they're all in there 15 minutes in advance. But there literally was 60, 70, 80 people in there. And I walked in and I started approaching them and I said, "Are you all in here for court today? It's going to be packed." Like, I was wondering how long I'm going to be in there for. And they go, "Oh, no, we're here to see Peter Horton." And "Do you know who he is?" And I'm going, "Yeah, that's me." And they go, "Yeah, we're all here to see what you got to say today."
Wow.
And I'm like, wow, I was blown away. I really was. Some lady comes up and puts a necklace on me. I'm like, "Oh, what's going on here?"
Sure.
And then after that, so I did another spiel to the judge about, the Queen of Australia and all the referendum breaches and so on and so forth and other stuff. And then after that, we all met outside and we went down the road for coffee again and filled the cafe up, literally filled it up.
Sure.
And then there I said, "Oh, look, I've got a landfill operation that I own in Lonsdale, and let's meet up there next Sunday and we'll have a meeting." So anyway, about 30 or 40 of them turned up. I had all the chairs laid out and had a whiteboard ready to do the talks, and the common law court just expanded from then. So I didn't know one person who came to the court, and then all of a sudden I met thousands and thousands of people who were all had the same mindset. So I just wanted to not leave that part of the story out, because that's actually how it formulated. And then Donna came along because the word of mouth was traveling, quite quickly about there was this place down there and they were truth tellers. And so it attracted all sorts of people. It was all word of mouth, and we literally had, 9 or 10,000 people come through there. So, but then what happened is, because we were serving the police and doing all these things to them, they used to fly helicopters over on the Sunday because the cars were parked all the way up the road and all that sort of thing. But anyway, at the landfill operation, I had storage units there, on the places where I'd flattened and leveled. Anyway, a silly person left a couple of firearms in there that were unregistered. And when they came down to raid us, after another bloke got caught with, the sparkler dust off of for the Christmas tree sparklers you buy from the supermarket.
Yes.
Yeah, he made one of those to throw in our campfire, but he scraped all the dust off in there so it would fizz up really high for all the children.
Okay.
Anyway, they charged him for making a bomb.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Just looking for something, hey?
Just looking for something. So then, because I went up there to try and defend him, because they rang us up and said to him, "Oh, the coppers are here and they're doing this and they're doing that." And so I went up there to sort of investigate and watch everything. But then within 3 or 4 days, they came down and raided me, but they brought down 100 coppers to arrest one bloke.
With the big tank. They come in with 4-wheel drives with a tank, all pointed guns at us.
Yeah.
And
this is such a common theme. I mean, I've only probably 2 or 3 others, and this is in different parts of the world, saying the same story, that as soon as you start to question the system and you're doing it honorably and respectfully,
Yes,
you get not just pushback, but attack.
absolutely. You're flying over the target, they
Yeah.
start shooting at you. It's as simple
Yes,
as that.
that's the
So
one.
just to try and cut it, slim it down a bit. So then what happened is they refused me bail. The guy that actually had the sparkler dust, he got bail. It was hilarious, really, when you look at it all. Not back when it was happening. So I was basically a political prisoner for 2.5 years in maximum security prison.
Wow.
They refused me
In
bail.
Yatala, in South Australia.
And then when I got out, we ran a court case against them for no jurisdiction to lock me up, because they were just doing everything they could to try and shut me down, because we were exposing things.
So, Peter, what were you trying to achieve by serving notices on them and things like that? What was the outcome you were after before you got jailed? What were you actually trying to do?
Well, justice for everybody. We've got a system in place that steals, 62,000 children roughly a year in this country. It dissects the family unit. I mean, when we started running these assemblies, we learnt so every day was a major learning process, and we're just going, well, it's just getting worse and worse. The information was just coming at us thick and fast.
So you were trying to address the system and find the truth.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
definitely. We had lots of parents come to us wanting help because they'd unlawfully stolen their children, their babies from the birthing table, all different stories. And so we definitely looked into helping that. And you'll see on YouTube, before we proceed, was where Peter was able to advocate when they come and first tried to get my 14-year-old daughter, because again, we're on the radar, so they come and attack the children. So they tried to get her. And if you search before we proceed on the Corruption Whistleblower YouTube channel, you'll see the 2 parts of where Peter fended them off. And then my friend and I went actually to Child Protection the next day, and they allowed me to keep my daughter. And that was in the February of 2021. And then, the story progresses. They put Peter in jail, and then they come and get my daughter, and they took her for 36 days. And I represented myself in court, and they gave her back to me, and I came back to my home state, which was New South Wales. I'm not from South Australia. I'm from Sydney, so I came back and helped with my mum and my father, who was dying. So because I was leaving South Australia, they said, you're fleeing, and they snatched my daughter from me and kept her from me. We didn't know if she was alive or dead for the first 17 days. And thank God that got her back. Very rare that the parents get their children back. And feel free to reach out to us at info@corruptionwhistleblower.com, and we can hopefully help those parents, because there's thousands of parents. 240 a day children get uplifted. They get 40,000 per uplift. So there's all these financial rewards. And in the middle of the first edition, we've got a middle section that talks all about how they're snatching the children. They've got to get quotas to keep themselves all going, to keep all of the child protection workers going, the judicial system going around it. They're getting quotas. And that comes from Nancy Schaefer, who they suicided over in America. She was a senator over there, and she was exposing all of this, and they suicided her and her husband. Right. So, but her work still got out there.
Yeah,
I'm glad you talked about your YouTube channel as well, because there's so much information that's coming out here today that it's a good resource for people who are going, what is this about? I want to know more about what the 2 of you are saying. That's a good resource, and so's your website for the newspaper.
Yeah, the webpage is right up to speed with what we're doing now as we're serving the banksters, and we'll get into that in a minute, because we're telling you the pathway of how we got to where we are now.
Yeah.
But I want people to know that if they want more information to fill in all the gaps, it's there as well.
Yeah, it is.
I just wanted to add, when we were interviewing, some days we'd say, okay, Wednesday night we're going to have, all the mothers that have had their children stolen come and talk to us, and we would just try and work it out. And the stories were crazy. And then some of them would say, okay, we'd say, can you do a talk on the Sunday? And so they do a talk on the Sunday, and I'm kid you not, it wasn't a dry eye in the place. It was just so heartbreaking when you hear mothers having their child taken straight from the womb. They'd snatch the child. They never see the child again. They could never get that bonding thing. And
And no reason,
just
poor reasons or no reason at all.
And it's a whole like uh, part of Australia that seems like the first thing for most people will be total disbelief to think that something
it's true.
going on. Yeah, absolutely. But I'm saying that for the people that are listening out there. Okay, if you're just going, how the hell? That's okay. Process that disbelief by going to the website, going to your YouTube, and getting the facts and the raw information, right? Because it's really going on.
Because even though they might disbelieve it, you've got to ask, well, how much research have they done into it?
Sure.
You know, because we've done years of research into it now, and we've had firsthand experience of it as well. And so you'd have to question, well, just because you've got a belief, it doesn't make it real. So the stuff that we're saying and have seen is very real. And there's a lot of financial incentives for taking people's children on gossip reports.
And you guys have opened just this massive door, It's fabulous.
And what would happen to the women who would come over, they will come and we would start to speak with them and start to teach them how to do affidavits and represent themselves. And child protection down there would say, if you go near them again, you're never seeing your child again. And guess what? Most of the time they'd never see their child again anyhow.
So
but they'd threaten them. Who they could associate with even.
It's all threats and intimidation. That seems to be all that's known. Nobody seems to just go, how can we help you? And how can we get a good result here for everybody?
So they throw him in jail for 2.5 years. They take my child. The common law court disperses. And he's in jail for 2.5 years while they bankrupt him for $60 million. So they lock him up and strip him of every asset. I'm back at home laying out my passed away father, thinking, thank God we got my daughter back in Sydney. And then he comes out and says, we've got to do a paper. We've got to do a newspaper. Because we were teaching people over and over again, but it wasn't enough.
Yes.
We needed to get the word out there permanently.
Yes. Yeah, it was basically, I thought, oh, you can close my small community down, because it is small when you consider there's 2 million people in South Australia, and we had 10 or 15,000 people come through there. But I thought, oh, I'm going to write a brief of evidence, because that's what I did.
That's what it is.
And so the newspaper, as you can see in the corner there, says brief of evidence.
Yep.
So this is not just a newspaper, it's a brief of evidence. And the second edition is all about...
Sorry. For those of you that are listening to the audio of this on radio, you can't see what they were holding up, but it's on their website.
Yeah, www.corruptionwhistleblower.com. You can go there and have a look at it.
And so the first edition's all the legislation that is totally corrupt because it doesn't have the consent of we the people. And the proper authority of this country comes from the people up the top, the Executive Assembly, the judiciary, and then the police. But they've got it the other way around now, where it's the political parties, the judiciary, the police, and then the people are underneath that.
And the police point their guns at us.
Yeah.
And so
upside down.
Yeah, that's absolutely. There's no authority in this country for the current Australian government. And they've done it in a confusing way where if you look at the Constitution Act, it says the government of the Commonwealth of Australia. So who then is the Australian government? Who are they? We don't know who they are, because it's a problem.
Isn't doing it in a confusing way a pretty good way to do it? Because, whenever anybody tries to retrace what's happened, it's just like a maze.
Yeah,
well, they're a corporation registered overseas in Washington, D.C. with ABN and everything. So we're run again by a corporation for profit.
And they keep rebranding and shifting all
especially the child protection. They rebrand the child protection in every state all the time. For-profit child protection. When I opened the Noarlunga child protection page, they had one of the tabs that gave themselves business awards for the amount of money they made from snatching children.
Now, I just wanted to make a quick point for the listeners that if the Australian government is missing the word Commonwealth, because the original under the Constitution, it says the government of the Commonwealth of Australia. Now, if you remove the word Commonwealth, you remove public welfare general good. And for any of those that want to look up the word Commonwealth in the dictionary or certain dictionaries, that's what it says, Commonwealth. Yes. So this government, there's no Commonwealth. At all. They're stealing it all. They steal all our assets, our in-ground assets, like they gave away the $150 billion worth of gas in the nation, because the people just haven't woken up to the fact that this is the biggest, fattest fraud that you're ever going to come across in your whole life. And
We've been
sometimes the
sold
life,
off. All of our
without our consent,
for profit.
And the judiciaries are the judiciary are the I know we'll call them, they are terrorists. They're the one that's maintaining the hoax. They're the protectors of the Australian government, because they have contracts with that Australian government, and they're only allowed to do certain things, or they breach their contracts. But I just want to let everybody know also that if every judge and magistrate have their own ABN number, and that's why sometimes people hear when you go in there, this is my court and I'll make the rules up. Well, that is actually true, but it's treason. It's treason. And it's treason
on the people,
treason. It's treason on the people. That's right.
Because the royalty, the king and the queen knew about it all. They're in with it all as well. People go, oh, it's treason on. It's not treason on King Charles. It's treason on the people.
And insurrection.
And we're basically saying to people out there, don't go and fight and argue with this system. Listen to what these people here today, what Peter and Donna are saying to you. You know, you go and try and fight with that system, it's going to win.
It will strip you down.
It's going to end bad. That's what it's going to end up. But
so that's why we did this. And there's 3 editions.
So it's all about people power. And look, this is the richest, luckiest, greatest nation in the world. And that's why the global elite have targeted it. And are milking it. Western Australia's been sold off completely, and we are just absolutely being run as slaves. They're stealing our blood, sweat, equity. But let's get back to, or let's move forward on now, if you don't mind, onto the banking system, because we have been in that many fights with the judiciary, and we know that they're liars. We know that they're dishonest and they're just maintaining a hoax. But so what we worked out was that it's all about the money. So on the 14th of February 1966, they converted our asset-backed pound to the decimal point currency held to public housing. So the decimal point currency system has no place here. So if you've got, let me explain it in a little bit of a different way. If you've got a judge and it's an imperial, under the imperial constitution, it cannot fine, sentence, or anybody in any other legal tender other than the pound. Because you can't use a decimal point currency system when you're an imperial crown. So there's the first major defect that people.
But what's imperial crown got to do with our current legal system?
Well, under the Constitution Act, it's under the crown.
Okay, gotcha.
That was backed by land and backed by stuff.
But what they've done is
yes.
Yeah. Good move, yeah. So basically, but what they've done is they've suspended the Constitution in 1973 when Gough Whitlam came to power and created the Queen of Australia, which, of course, any monarchist or anybody that's, you know, was a follower of Queen Elizabeth would realise there's no such thing as Queen of Australia.
It's a piece of paper talking Queen of Australia.
That title. There might be a Queen of Australia as in of our other realms, but it's Queen Elizabeth, Her Most Excellent Majesty, Queen of England, Ireland, and her other realms. It's not Queen of Australia. You cannot have. Mike Tyson was boxing champion of the world. That doesn't make him boxing champion of Australia. There's somebody else that's got that.
It was smoke and mirrors. Smoke and mirrors.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. You know, watch this hand because something else is going on over here.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, that's exactly right.
Okay.
So what we found out is that we realised is that it's all about the money. And then so once we started trying to look at building another banking system, a prosperity package, some people may have heard of Nazara Gazara and think, oh yeah, it's smoke and mirrors, but I can assure you it's not, because we uncovered the evidence that these Australian banks, 9 of them, 2 of them have been bought out by Westpac and Commonwealth Bank, did receive the money in 1967. And the 4 major banks, one of them being the ANZ, received 1.1 trillion US Treasury notes in 1967, and they all received deposits, and I won't go into each individual deposit that they received.
But where did they receive them from? Like, just for people?
From the Alpha Omega Trust, which is where all the gold came from in the world to originally back the currency in the world. When money was backed by gold, this is the gold that it was backed by.
And this goes into it in detail in one of our friends' books that we picked up the other day. It's Timelines of Truth. And that is an amazing book.
Can you give us the name of the author?
Datu, D-A-T-U, Efren, E-F-R-E-N, Hospital, H-O-S-P-I-T-A-L, Hospital, Man, M-A-N,
Disperser.
M-A-N-D-I-P-E-N-S-A.
Okay.
And it's called Timelines of Truth. And it goes back how all the Philippines had all the gold, and it actually backs the Alpha Omega Trust, goes into it in depth.
That just ties into so many other groups.
We couldn't believe it. It was one of those synchronicities. So we're doing all this stuff with the bank going, oh, wow, the Alpha Omega Trust, we knew a little bit of history. Okay. And then our friend makes his connection with our Filipino tribal friend.
Right.
And he's just written this amazing book that absolutely backs it 100%. Okay. So as we've been serving the banksters, their lawyers are digging into it and going, this is true.
Okay. So who created the Alpha Omega Trust?
Well, it's a collection of gold over 2,000 to 3,000 years, right. maybe even longer, that was compiled and hidden in the Philippines. That's why the Japanese went to the Philippines to try and steal the gold over there. There's had no reason to go to the Philippines.
Which is why our history has been completely rewritten in so many different ways, because, again, that just leads everybody completely off track.
Yeah. Correct. So just going back to the deposits that were given to the banks and all of them, and I won't go into the figure in each one of them, but
I can quickly, if you want. I've got it here.
Okay.
So we've got the Central Bank of Australia, which quickly turned into the RBA 2 weeks after they got this deposit on the 1st of January 1966. They were given 12,000 metric tons of gold to increase it 4% per annum. ANZ was given 1.1 trillion. That was on the 1st of January 1967. Bank of Queensland, 700 billion. Bank West, 700 billion. Bendigo Bank, 700 billion. Commonwealth Bank, 660 billion. Westpac Bank, 700 billion. NAB, 700 billion. St. George, 520 billion. And Westpac, 1.1 trillion. This was all on the first. The banks were all on the 1st of January 1967 to increase at 4% per annum. And in 1997, 1997, they were supposed to release 50% of all those funds to the Australian.
Was the maturity of that?
Correct. And so it matured after 30 years, and they were supposed to release 50% of those funds to the people for debt relief, humanitarian projects. They kept it. And I'll just do a little bit longer in the timeline, because we then go on to the Treasury certificate, which is on our website, corruptionwhistleblower.com. The Treasury certificate was all signed off by the whole bench of the International Criminal Court, International Court of Justice. The Queen Elizabeth was the chair. John Howard was signed off. Over 300 signatures signed off this Treasury document to say it's true and correct.
350 to be.
And you've got that evidence
and everything. It's common. It's common knowledge. It's
not common.
It's a public document.
Yes, correct.
It's a public document.
So in 1967, they got trillions and trillions of dollars, and people think about this. Trillions is a lot when we think about it now. We've only just kind of morphed in the last 10 years to talking in trillions. In 1967, trillions of dollars was just gazillions of dollars.
Absolutely.
By 4% over 30 years, 50% of that matures and is supposed to be given back to the people to be used to enhance people's lives and health and well-being. But instead, it goes up the line somewhere to who knows who.
They've kept it.
Possibly Rothschilds and all that kind of the banksters that are at the top. And then the second one, and then it gets revealed in 2007 that this is all true and correct, still kept it. Oops. And then there's supposed to, in 2027, is supposed to be the second time they're supposed to give another 50% out. So we're nearly coming up to the second time they're supposed to disperse the funds. And we've got good people sleeping in their cars, sleeping in the park, while they're up in their ivory towers, pretty much untouchable. That's why when the 18th and 19th of November came this year and they were doing the Economic Standing Committee down at Parliament House in Canberra, we made a very good point of visiting the 4 CEOs of the banksters and serving them the public notice so they became aware of what was going on.
Yes, you did. And that video of you doing that is on your website for everybody. You can watch and listen to that. So you said this is, that money is there and it could be helping out people sleeping on benches and all that. But hey, we've got a government at the moment that has bankrupted us, basically, that has just,
enslaved us.
Increased our debt by God knows how much. That debt could be wiped out how many times over?
It's their debt. Let's get real.
I understand.
It's their debt.
I understand.
It's their corporation debt. It's actually not the people's debt. We didn't vote for that.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you're right what you're saying. It could have been like the debt at the moment's 1 trillion, but these major banks and the central banks owe the people.
Yes.
It would have to be about 10 to 15 trillion at this point
So at the moment, regulations and more taxes are being made up left, right and centre to pay that debt off, which, as you say, isn't our debt, but could, with that money, be paid off 1 trillion times.
Gone. What? And everyone's house loan could be gone. Yes. Everyone's loans could be all debt relief across the board. People who have made the effort to pay their house off sooner could get that money back, but they are withholding the money. So now what Peter's about to talk about is that we've gone and seen them all and we're giving them a notice of formal demand, because you have to ask for it back before they can give it back. And every nation of the world needs to be across these documents, and every nation of the world can be doing it because it happened worldwide. You should see some of the zeros behind some of the nations, especially the Philippines, Switzerland. There's just lines and lines of zeros that they were gifted, and the entire banking sector around the world, and all of the governments are in on it to embezzle and keep this money and try and keep us in this slave poverty, take it from everyone else mentality, whereas it should be prosperity payments for all. We
should be living a debt-free, fully supported life, healthy.
Absolutely.
And enjoying ourselves and doing our heart's desire, so to speak.
That's great.
And creating. We're on the verge of free energy, clean water. We should be having the opposite of what they're inflicting on us. And it's coming. Fear not, my good fellow friends. Absolutely. It is coming.
And we scheduled this meeting today, this interview today, because 2 weeks ago, the 18th and 19th, is when you served the brief of evidence. So now are you telling me that in the interim time, you've served the notice of demand as well?
In the process of going to the AGMs. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Now, the notice of demand, basically what's asking for is the original depositors are asking for the money back or demanding the money back.
Yep.
We don't believe the banks have got the money.
And for people also, can we just go back one step? Because with that brief of evidence that you served on them, that was signed off through the International Criminal Court?
That's correct. And Donna did mention that before. So it was signed off by the full bench of the International Court of Justice, the full bench of the International Criminal Court. The document's been made so that all fraud, all incorrectness or any false statements or theft or anything has all been removed from the document. Cheating. Yes. Yeah, it's been declared and a written order saying that there's no lies in this document, because
I wanted that spelled out for people to know that this is happening through higher level courts. Like this isn't.
That's correct.
This is not made up. It's fully
signed off by 300 people.
They can download the document on our site and have a really good look at it if they want. It's under the video. Yes. Go and download it, read it for yourself with outline the Australian stuff. But please, if you're from another country, go and look at it yourselves, because your country has been affected. Your nation is in poverty because they have embezzled these prosperity payments.
Yep.
Yeah. So basically, we were appointed trustees to retrieve the money. We work for the people of this country.
There's 12 of us, not just us. There's 12 of us.
So appointed trustees of what? The Alpha Omega Trust?
Yeah, to retrieve the funds.
Hang on. Can we just stop there? Can we just savor that?
Not just us.
I know that, but hey, take it on board, guys. That's incredible. Mind blown here.
Yeah, it is. It's awesome.
So that's why this guy in South Africa got in touch with me, because he's a part of that Alpha Omega Trust.
correct.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
So the idea is for us to get the money back. If we can't get the money back, we'll get control of the banks, and then we can redistribute the money to everybody in the nation through those processes that are already in play, because we definitely don't want to collapse the system. But the Alpha Omega Trust wants the money back so they can disperse it as the banks breach their fiduciary duty and they breach their trust to do that. That's correct. And it is God intended, absolute. So we're just working through that process. We've served most of them their final notice of demand. So within 14 days, there'll be another action taking place, which we won't be talking about on this channel just at this time, but it will come out soon, perhaps in the next interview. If you're keen to interview us again, we can let you know what the pathway moving forward has been, not what is going to happen. So that's where we're at the moment. There's no way out for them, because anybody that says that we're crazy or anything must then say, well, then these 350 people who've signed this document, including every president and every prime minister of the world has signed this document in 2007 to say it's true and correct, then what, they're all nuts. You know, no.
Royalty, everything signed off on it.
You've got evidence. You have
absolutely
evidence, right?
And the infinite bank statement that goes along with it that shows what they were supposed to do with it.
And when the money was deposited. So we've got the back end depositors documentation, and we are just now going through the request for the audit process of what's happened to those funds, where they've gone, and this is what the final notice of demand was. So we want to know where the money is, because that's why we've been appointed trustees, is to find out what's happened to it, and then eventually to return the banks to the Alpha Omega Trust, because it'll be a debt that they can't repay, and then it'll be an abundance payments process for everybody in the nation. So we really need to get everybody on board and to really have a close look at this, because they've stolen from every single one of you. And we're not just talking about a little bit of money. And it's not just about the money. It's about, they've preyed on the fact that I'll look at it like a bird born in a bird cage. A bird born in a bird cage goes, oh, this is a great cage. The food's coming through the door every day, and that's all we know. Look, we can fly around free, and these bars on this cage are here to protect us from those on the outside. But that's not the case.
And I don't want any better, because I'm just so happy with.
Because I don't know any better. Yeah, because I don't know any, and I haven't experienced any better.
Yes.
So we're about to open the bird cage and let the birds fly free. That's what the name of the game is, because I had a fair bit of money a few years ago before they put me in jail, and people used to say to me, oh, look, why are you fighting this system? You're causing yourself headaches. And I used to say to them, well, I can free myself, but my children will walk one step out the door and they're walking in, doo-doo, so to speak. You need deep in it.
Thank God you did. Can I just take a moment here to thank both of you from the heart of me and everybody that's listening for firstly putting yourself through the mill, through, just you in jail and Peter and Donna, you with your family and your children and your daughter and those things. You guys had to go through hell to break free of that cage. And, we know energetically that you just didn't do that for you. As soon as you did that, you did that for so many others as well. So thank you for firstly breaking the cages open, right?
Yeah.
And then you started fighting, you were fighting the lower levels of the system and going, why aren't you listening to me? And why can't you just see the truth? And that led you up, further up and up the line, didn't it?
Yeah.
It did.
Yeah. We are for real grassroots, have absolutely been through the mill. And we didn't go and cry and cower in the corner. We kept getting back up and going again.
Kept going. Yeah. Yes. Thank you so much for your courage
and thank God, honestly.
Yes.
Because
I know what you're saying.
The source and miracles being our new normal now. It's interesting now we're doing this.
Correct.
Miracles, coincidences. We know we're on the right track. We know we're divinely protected because miracles have become our daily new normal, and it is inspiring to say the least.
Yes, it is. And for everybody out there, boy, I just get inspired by that, because if you're living in a cage, you don't have synchronicities, you don't have those sorts of
Not as
things
much.
happening to you.
Mm.
You have them maybe periodically and you think they're
Yeah.
miracles. There's no such thing as miracles. When you're tuned in with some higher power, everything just starts working out with such
That's
ease,
right,
doesn't it?
Helen. Yeah,
Good on
we
you.
are completely on mission now. We
Yep.
love our mission. We're completely on mission. We work all day on it, and we thank the few funders that have helped us. And if people could get behind us and get across these documents, I think Peter wants to read out some names of the banksters who we've served and who we will continue to press into for the sake of the people, not only here in this nation, but around the world. I just want to say, when we released that first video, we got feedback that sent shockwaves through the financial world.
Right.
So
And
it should have.
oh, it
The one that when we served them in Parliament House and explained what was going on.
I just
It
loved
sent
watching their
shockwaves.
reactions, because
Yeah, everyone does.
and then they would sort of, whoever you were serving would just look at their sidekick and go, well,
Hand it straight off.
that paperwork,
Yeah.
Well, they don't know.
Yeah.
This is the problem. They've been handed a ball that they don't know where the ball's come from.
Yep.
And so,
and it's filthy.
But as I pointed out to Patrick Alloway, from the Bank of Queensland the other day, that you've been served, and from this point onwards, you're knowingly taking part in fraud and financial terrorism on the people of this nation. So it's up to you what you do. That's what I said to him. It's up to you what you do and how you handle this, because there's probably going to be a high probability that
they better get a conscience right now. Right.
Well, that's what I said to Anthony Miller from Westpac. You could be a national hero if you do the right thing.
Yes.
Get it. Now it's but the minor problem that they can't see just yet is that they don't know that there's 43 or 46 zeros in the Alpha Omega Trust account in the Bank of England. But we can't go and give this money, the next round of money, to these banks that have defrauded people. So what we're basically hoping to find, one or two of the CEOs potentially bow down to it straight away and say, yep, our corporation owes these people money, and move forward. Because if they don't, they're going to be facing major indictable criminal offences.
And not just that CEO, all the CEOs previous to them as well, and the people who implemented it.
Succession, line of
trouble.
Yeah. And you're pulling the curtain and you're revealing the man from Oz, kind of getting
exactly
pulling the curtain back, but doing it so well. That's why we need these names, right? Because it's not about just saying they, because everybody hears they and the elite and all those sorts of things so many times, and nobody knows just, names. So go ahead, Peter, off you go. What are the names we're talking about?
Well, the names are the CEO from the Commonwealth Bank, Matt Common. He's been put on notice and also served the final demand. The NAB Bank, Andrew Irvine, which is who we did last Friday down in Melbourne, and we are to do the ANZ next on the 18th of, probably said a little bit too much there, but on the 18th of this month. But however, it doesn't matter. They all know and they're all talking to each other. Yep. But he's the last one to serve his notice of final demand. And also
interesting, Westpac, wasn't
Anthony Miller. Yeah, he was a very good man.
Right.
To our face. Yeah, to our face. He was very polite.
And we also
listened.
Told him too that, look, you've been served a public notice on the 18th of November. And from that time up until now, which was what day did we serve them on? Last Thursday.
Yeah, the 11th.
Last Thursday, you've been committing the criminal offence of fraud and financial terrorism on the people, because we haven't heard you come out and say, look, or send a letter to your shareholders, because he told us that he'd read the document and he understood it, which was great. But I think he's in a little bit of shock too. So we're giving him that bit of time between now and
hell of a lot to digest, isn't it?
It is. He said he'd seen the document, but while we were there at the AGMs, we did give the notice of final demand to the shareholders, because it is a public document, and we give it to a few shareholders for them to get across as well.
Okay, good tactics. Yes.
Yeah, so look, there's no way out. The only one way out is if they capitulate and say, okay, we're going to do the right thing. The bank doesn't have the money. We'll give you everything we've got, and we're going to hand back all the assets back to the Alpha Omega Trust. And then the Alpha Omega Trust will then distribute it to all the people of this nation. So we've got a little bit more fighting left to go. We know that they're not going to let go easy, but in the end, we got a game plan for them. They won't like it if they keep forcing our hand. But we always try and be, ladies and gentlemen, to move forward because they don't know. But once you know,
honourably and respectfully, absolutely.
Yeah, but once you know, and like I said to the CEOs, you've known now since the 18th and the 19th of November. So at a minimum, you've been committing this criminal offence since then. And these are major indictable offences against every man and woman and child in this nation. And that's heavy. So I said to them, it gets down to what you do next.
And up until this time, they've been doing things behind closed doors and no one has been privy to what's been going on. Now it's being exposed, and platforms like mine and other people that you've interviewed with, we're getting it out worldwide, right?
Yes, thank you very much. Thank you, and bless your audience, and thank you so much, Helen.
Yes,
yeah, and so look,
people to share this far and
yes, wide. Please.
Yeah, Australia's going to be the first cab off the rank because the trustees have been very aggressive in their moving forward. A lot of the other nations are looking very closely at what we're doing and trying to work out how they can.
We've given them the blueprint, haven't we?
Blueprint, so they can all
go and upload the documents, guys. Go and get in touch with us. We're just showing them how to do it. It needs to happen in every nation. There's numerous other nations that want to get trained up how to do this, and we're most definitely happy to do that.
And so look, Donna made a little bit of an error before when she said we work all day. No. We work all day, all night, all day.
We do, actually.
We seriously.
We're on mission. We can feel we're on mission.
That was the word that I got, was mission. This is
we're on mission. We can tell we are.
Yeah, so you just need to get a few more people, the other nations, to get their assembly together of 12 people, 12 trustees, be appointed by the Alpha Omega Trust M1, and then they can then start giving their formal notices to the banks and stuff. Because this is not about collapsing the system. This is about maintaining the system, having a really nice transition. And if they don't want to be part of the nice transition, then it's going to be an ugly transition for them. And we don't back down, we don't give up, we don't give in. Not for anyone, especially when it comes to justice.
So this is about correcting. This is correction.
Correct.
Yes,
absolutely.
It's actually like it's the apocalypse, which is the lifting of the veil.
Oh, lovely, Donna. Beautiful way to say it. Yes, we're lifting the veil. So how can people out there help? Yes, we've asked them to share this far and wide. What else can the men and women out there do?
Well, we're doing it for free. I'd love to see how long they would work for free. We've worked for free for 7 years, just, and Peter's had everything stripped from him and still trying to get justice there. So if they did want to go to the Corruption Whistleblower page, give Peter a call, have a chat with him. If they want to donate, we can arrange that. If they want to share the information, please do. Look, we've just travelled. We spent probably $15,000 on petrol this year, travelling all around everywhere, trying to spread the news, spreading the paper, running grand juries. We hope to run another grand jury. So, look, if people wanted to donate, hip hooray. If I know truthers don't have much money left, either do we, but we just somehow keep going.
I was getting my calculator out, right? Because last I heard, only being up for 4 weeks, I had 60,000 listeners, right? So I just figured if I had 60,000 listeners and they donated $5, that's 300,000. Thank you.
that would be just amazing, even, because we're not asking for money, but it has been hard. We have done it very tough, and we certainly don't go around staying in hotels. We've got a little van that we sleep in, and we do it really quite tough,
Plus, you two need a little bit of, they need a good massage and maybe a nice spa and a bit of a sauna. Something like that would be nice too.
Whatever. There'll be time for that later.
But all that traveling you're doing, I mean, God.
It's hard on your body. It's hard.
Getting back to the serious side of things about how people can really help, and that would be if you simply download the document from corruptionwhistleblower.com, which has, so you don't have to read the 135 pages. You really only got to get your head around the pages that are outlined in there in the index. So there's probably
you highlighted stuff.
Yeah,
that's right.
he did.
Get your head around it. And what you're going to find is that all you people with home loans who are all facing eviction, instead of going into the courts and having a summary judgment done on yourself, file this document in there and say, have a counterclaim. You owe me $1.5 million.
That's
your mortgages.
Great idea.
And file it in there. Now
we're helping farmers now do that as we speak. We're helping farmers flip it and run with this document so that they don't get kicked out of their farm, and it's kind of working. So
the banks owe you money.
Yeah.
Right? So, and in a summary judgment, I just want to run through this for a bit. In a summary judgment, it usually ends up you get evicted within the first or the second time you go to court because you can't put up an argument. But when you put up an argument, now it's going to go to trial, which is now going to keep you in your home for at least another year and a half.
Just download the proof of evidence and file that on them, and
and go to the page where it simply says your bank that's taking you to court, and simply say in there, okay, I can't remember what page it is, but it outlined in the index that the money was supposed to go to humanitarian projects and development projects, which means that it was supposed to come to you. They've concealed it. They didn't give you the chance to get that money. So you need to just get your head around it and file it in there and say, you want your money? Where's my money? That's your counterclaim.
And I know that you've been served. I know you've been served.
Yeah, they have been. You can say that.
Yeah, what are you going to do about my home loan? Because
they are aware of it.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And I just want to make one strong point, and that is that when you file it in an affidavit into the court system, you must have a sunset clause on your affidavit. So you would put in, here's the brief of evidence, go to this page, it shows you the banks are being served, go to the page where it says that it's for development funds, which means everybody was supposed to get it. And then the affidavit, in this affidavit must be rebutted point by point with specificity under the penalty of perjury by way of certified and verifiable affidavit within 21 days, or it's deemed as fact. Now, if the judge runs over the affidavit without the other party, the bank's rebutting the evidence, which they can't, then you have to take the judge to task and make an application into the courts for the judge perverting the course of justice for making a decision running over without the affidavit being rebutted.
We're going to need to wrap it up.
Yes.
Sorry, Peter. I know you're so passionate about this stuff, but I want to say to people out there, hey, we don't want you even getting to that point where you have to figure out how to file an affidavit and go to court. We want these guys are even changing everything.
That's correct.
So you don't have to get to that point.
Yep. Do it early on.
Absolutely. So I'm so sorry we're out of time.
No, we'd love to see you again sometime.
I mean, so many things are happening with you guys that if we did this in, 4 weeks' time, we'd still be turning the world upside down with information. This has been absolutely fabulous. Thank you both. As I said, my heart just thanks you both for everything that you're doing. You are on mission and you're doing an amazing thing to change this world. And I want to just thank all the listeners out there too. Please help Corruption Whistleblower, help Peter and Donna to keep this thing moving forward.
Yes, thank you, Helen.
Thank you so much for having us on.
And you're on mission too.
Yeah, we've all got our own mission.
That's why we lined up. That's absolutely
right.
We lined up. All right. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. And thanks, everyone.